Business is booming in Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have signed AB, Antonio Brown, number 84, aka the greatest receiver of the 2010s. Antonio Brown is back in the NFL, and he has reunited with his buddy, his pal, Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. The Buccaneers, when they signed Leonard Fournette, I went on here and I said, is this the dream team? Gronk, Antonio Brown, the two players with the most touchdowns from last decade. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Tom Brady, Bruce Arians, the best defense in football with Ndamukong Suh, Shaq Barrett, Levante David. This Buccaneers team is a train. And Antonio Brown is joining the train. And it's just funny to me because this past week has kind of been Buccaneer week across the media. The Bucs have finally been getting the rightful attention that they should have been getting in the preseason. There were a lot of people in the preseason that were saying the Bucs are just going to disappoint. They're going to be a 7, 8, maybe 9 win team that misses the playoffs, and they're going to be too much hype, right? Now, we don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the season. Through 6 weeks, 6 games, the Bucs are 4-2. And this week has been Buccaneer week because they were on basically national television. It was basically a primetime game because it was one of 2 games in the afternoon time slot, in the late time slot on Sunday. And they absolutely demolished the Packers, one of the top teams in the league, an undefeated squad, a team with Aaron Rodgers looking like an MVP candidate. They beat them by 28, steamroll them. The defense looks amazing. The offense gets it done. Of course, there's going to be eyes on them every week because of what Tom Brady has brought to them. That city is buzzing about this team. The nation is buzzing about this team. And now they follow up this victory with signing Antonio Brown. In my opinion, one of the at least 10 greatest receivers of all time, and one of probably the 5 greatest receivers I've ever seen in my lifetime. Now, he's not going to be prime Antonio Brown, but if you're thinking Antonio Brown is no longer good, you're going to be mistaken, because I don't know if you don't know, but Antonio Brown can still play. Now, it's been a year plus since he's played on a football field. The last time he played was versus the Dolphins as a member of the Patriots. But the impressive part about Antonio Brown playing in that game was he had like 3 days of practice. He stepped into the most complicated offense in football and led the team in targets, receptions, and I believe yards and touchdowns as well. So he initially built a connection with Tom Brady that was very, very strong. And I think that has carried into this signing. Tom Brady believes in Antonio Brown. Tom Brady believes that Antonio Brown can turn around his life with the right opportunity. And I've said it many times. I've said it on this channel. Tom Brady was going to make a run for Antonio Brown. And continuously people said, no, Mitch, you're wrong. Because they have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and there were reports of Bruce Arians not being a fan of Antonio Brown. But I continued to say, when everyone asked me, where could Antonio Brown go? I continued to say, don't count out the Bucs because Tom Brady loves Antonio Brown. There is something to be said about last offseason, Tom Brady being on the Patriots, a Patriots team that really lacked a lot of weaponry around him, a lot of receiving playmakers. He was desperate for somebody, some alpha receiver to come in on his team and connect with and be that number one guy. And the Patriots ended up signing AB after he was let go from the Raiders after a ridiculous offseason. And we'll get to in the drama and the off-field stuff with AB a little bit later. But with Antonio Brown, it was like they immediately had a spark and a connection. Because remember, Antonio Brown was a 6th round pick. Antonio Brown was a guy who he was a late round draft pick, worked his way up to becoming the best receiver in football, was by everybody to this day regarded as one of the hardest working players in the sport. And when it came to his work ethic on the field, nobody ever questioned Antonio Brown. And that is where I think Tom Brady and Antonio Brown were able to connect. Because Tom Brady is known as the biggest psychopath competitor there is in football and probably NFL history. And then you combine that with a receiver in Antonio Brown who's worked his tail off to get to the point to being the best receiver in football unanimously. And then his life kind of spirals out of control and he loses everything. So to me, there's a lot of people out there saying, you know, this guy doesn't deserve a second chance. He doesn't deserve a chance back in the NFL. I've said this once, I'll say it again. I've never been that type of person. Like, first off, he was never actually charged with anything, and that was not taken anywhere. So for you to say that I think is a little out there. And secondly, I think our society, especially right now, needs more second chances for people that in the first place, Antonio Brown was a awesome story. I mean, this guy came out of a bad community, worked his ass off, got to a point of superstardom. And I think there was a moment where I do go back and I look at that moment where he gets concussed and Vontaze Burfict smashes him helmet to helmet. And I do think that had a psychological impact on the person Antonio Brown. Because ever since that moment, his life has changed, his demeanor, the way that he carries himself. I feel like he's been a little, I don't know for a fact, so don't quote me on this, but I feel like there's been a little bipolar nature to it. And we saw the whole thing with the Raiders. He clearly didn't want to be there. He got himself traded from the Bills because initially he was supposed to go to the Bills. He finds himself on New England last year. And I fully expected that if he were not involved in the law at that time, I think he would have been successful in New England because all signs were pointing towards Antonio Brown being a good citizen, being a good player, being a good teammate, and of course, Tom Brady had his back in New England. So it seemed like it was going to work in New England, and that would have changed the Patriots team. But of course, there are some leaks, some reports about what's going on off the field. The Patriots cut him right away, and we have not seen him since. Now, those things have kind of calmed down, and we haven't seen those reports off the field. We haven't seen really any new stuff come to be with Antonio Brown. Everything for AB has been him working to get back to football, him working out, him trying to improve as a person, and hopefully Antonio Brown, this is all we can do. Antonio Brown can turn it around. I don't want to be the one to cast a stone at Antonio Brown. I want to be the one that hopes for the best. I want to be the guy that comes on here and tells you, I want to see Antonio Brown be Antonio Brown because football's a better place with Antonio Brown. Sports is a better place with Antonio Brown. And I like football more with Antonio Brown. I'm sorry. Okay? Now, again, back to the question, is he going to be 2015 Antonio Brown? Probably not. All right? He's probably not going to be the best receiver in the league. But I think this is a guy that is so talented still that he'll roll out of bed, join the Buccaneers practice, and immediately Buccaneers players will be speaking about how good and gifted he is. So he's going to roll out of bed and become maybe a top 15, top 10 receiver without playing in a year. I do truly believe that because he's one of the most gifted route runners we've ever seen. From every video I've seen of him from last training camp to last season playing the Dolphins to the practice videos we've seen of him on Instagram, he still looks to have the speed. He still looks to have the quickness. He still has the hands. And maybe you question his intelligence off the field, but in terms of on the field intelligence, that has never been questioned. So the chemistry he already has with Brady, the off the field relationship he's built with Brady makes me believe that this is something that will work. That this is something that is not going to be a 1 week, 2 week fling, that it's going to work at least for this season. Now, past this season, I don't know, but as long as Brady and Brown remain close, and I don't know if Brady's going to take him into his home like he did last year, or if they're going to be in close contact, or how they're going to manage him as a personality and a person. We'll have to see what the reports are. And I don't know how, he's changed it all because we really haven't heard from him in a while. So he's been very quiet. He's been on the down low from a personality standpoint. We haven't really heard anything positively or negatively from his camp. So I do wonder how that's going to go down. But in terms of the on-field chemistry and the placement of Antonio Brown, the way that I expect AB to be used in this offense is I fully expect him to become a guy like Chris Godwin, who's kind of interchangeably used on the outside or the inside. Something we saw from Antonio Brown last year as a Patriot in the one game facing the Dolphins was that this is a guy that still is dirty, like wicked on releases off the line of scrimmage. So he can still line up on the outside and burn a defensive back. And as long as the pass is there, he can make a play. Because the thing with AB in his prime was, yes, he was smaller in stature, but he was one of the best at playing the ball in the air. So he's a guy that could be a short, intermediate, or deep target for this offense. And he can also play in the slot. Early in his days in Pittsburgh, he played in the slot due to his quickness, due to his agility. And this is something that I think the Buccaneers offense has been missing. While a lot of people thought this would be Scotty Miller, we haven't really seen it with Chris Godwin because he's been injured, okay? Antonio Brown can now be like a Edelman or like a Welker player. He doesn't have to be a downfield target. Even if he's lost a step in speed or lost a step in downfield ability, he can now become the short threat for this offense that they have been desperately lacking, right? So Mike Evans, downfield threat, intermediate threat. Chris Godwin, downfield intermediate threat, over the middle target. Now AB can be a guy that takes a screen or maybe runs a slant over the middle or runs creative option routes underneath like an Edelman or a Welker for Brady in the past. And maybe you don't have him run the downfield routes. Maybe he's the guy that is the third down chain mover. Maybe he's the drive starter. Maybe he's the 5-yard in, the 5-yard out guy. That's what I think he's going to be initially, and you'll see the odd spark of him going down the field. But already with Scotty Miller's speed, with Mike Evans' ability on the outside, and Chris Godwin hitting that 10 to 15 to 20-yard range, this team is just unstoppable from a football perspective passing the football. They have right now one of the highest graded offensive lines. They have Rob Gronkowski, who's starting to gain a little bit of steam. They have Cam Brate behind him at tight end. They have now AB as that short threat. They have Godwin as the middle of the field threat. and they have Mike Evans and Scotty Miller as the outside, down the field, stretch the field, or down the field, catch the football in an awkward position kind of guy. So, like, how do you match this team from a personnel standpoint? You have to have a quick, shifty guy to play AB. You have to have a big, physical number one corner to play Mike Evans. And you have to have a guy that has a little bit of everything at corner to play Chris Godwin. And then you have to worry with Gronk in the red zone, which we saw he looked pretty good last week. You have to deal with the running game that's been top 5 this year. And you have to pressure Brady. So this is, to me, if this works, if this is something that AB can keep his head on straight and he can be a good teammate and be a guy that is with the Bucs long term, and at least for this season, I'm talking long term, because who knows next year if he makes it through this year. But, like, they're not going to be stopped. And now you have that offense with Tom Brady and in a receiver who gets open quickly, who can win on releases one-on-one, and can be the short intermediate threat. With Brady getting rid of the football so quickly, that's going to negate pass rushers. That's going to lessen the pressure on Brady to get rid of the ball when he needs to quickly. And then you got the play action game down the field. And I mean, it's just going to be awesome. I mean, all the potential of what could be with this offense, because again, I don't expect AB to be 2014 Antonio Brown, but I expect him to be a top 20 receiver at the bare minimum in this league, because like I said, the guy rolls out of bed and he's just a great football player. We have seen maybe 3 guys run routes like Antonio Brown in the history of football. We've seen 3 guys with as quick as feet, and 3, maybe like 1 guy with like the same ability at 5'10" to catch the ball in the air like Antonio Brown. So it's like, forget about it. Like, you're not going to stop this team if they have everything clicking and everybody healthy. And I think something behind that and behind this decision was the health. Because, okay, Chris Godwin's been banged up. Evans has not been the same really since like the whole season. Like, we haven't seen Evans at 100%. We haven't seen Godwin at 100%. Even Scotty Miller has been not at 100%. Gronk's been kind of trying to get going because he had a whole year off football. So he's trying to get his legs back. So this offense has been operating at 50, 60%. So you add a guy that has had a whole year off, is 100% healthy, and has chemistry with Tom Brady. This is just going to help everyone else. If you need to sit down Mike Evans for a week or two because you want to get him healthy for the playoffs, you can do that now. If Chris Godwin is not 100% healthy, which right now he was taken off the injury report, so he should be 100% healthy, you can do that. If Leonard Fournette can't play, you don't got to play him. If Gronk needs rest 1 week or two, you can sit him. So this just, like, they're going to beat a lot of teams with, like, bare minimum guys out there because their defense is so good. They're going to beat a lot of teams scoring 20 points. But what happens if the Bucs score 30 points on a regular basis? Is anybody going to be able to beat them if they can score 30 points a game? I would argue probably not. Maybe the odd game, maybe the Chiefs can outduel them and win a shootout. But, like, there's maybe 1 or 2 teams that have a chance versus this Bucs team if AB's at 100% and this team's at 100%. Because they're the most talented roster in football. They have a top 10 quarterback. They have a top 10 offensive line. They have a good coaching staff. They have the best defense in the league. I mean, they're just going to have to beat themselves to lose. So at this point, like, people that will be saying that this team is still not a Super Bowl contender have absolutely lost their minds, because I thought during the offseason this team was a Super Bowl contender. I picked them to win the Super Bowl, and, like, I don't get it. People saying this was like the Browns of last year lost their mind. So, man, like, Brady's still playing good football. He seems to be having fun. And this defense is getting going. They traded for Steve McClendon from the Jets, a big monster nose tackle. Whew! This is going to be something. I'm really, really, really excited for Antonio Brown to be back in the NFL. Hopefully his head is on straight. Hopefully he can stay committed. And this is the thing again, guys. It's never been a question about AB, his work ethic. His work ethic at the time when he was on the Steelers was the best in the league at his position. And multiple sources could tell you that. It really spiraled out of control that one offseason with the Raiders. I don't know what happened. Sometimes this happens to people in different professions with this amount of spotlight. You know, an athlete, an actor, a singer, you know, artist. These people that get a lot of attention, and really a lot of attention coming from places where they never got that attention or were kind of underdog stories in the first place. That often happens. So I'm hoping that AB can turn his life around through signing with the Bucs. And I am very happy. I wanted him to go to Tampa or Seattle because I really thought that with Tom Brady or Russell Wilson, you know, we could see Antonio Brown get his life back on track and play great football as well. So, because those are two leaders that are two of the best in the sport and cultures that I think will be accepting of AB and I think will help him personally. So, I hope that was more than just football for why AB signed with the Bucs. I think he truly does believe in Tom Brady helping him as well. And I think Tom Brady had a lot to do with this. So I really do wonder if those reports of Bruce Arians about Antonio Brown were ever true. I don't know if this would be considered tampering, but did Bruce Arians maybe get on a call with Antonio Brown? Has Brady kept in contact with Antonio Brown? I think the more we hear about this story, the more we're going to learn about their relationship and learn about what's happened over these past 12 to 16 months. And I'm really interested to hear kind of the details of what's been happening behind the scenes. Because again, guys, if you've been following Antonio Brown on social, you know, it's been pretty quiet outside of like his rapping career. So, man, AB is back in the NFL. The Bucs look to be booming, and they have big time Super Bowl chances this year. So let's if you guys haven't already, I know we have a lot of people in here. Do Gronk spike that like button. Show support for this video if you have enjoyed this analysis. And also support the channel, man, with the Gronk spike. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more NFL reactions just like this. There were a few other moves that have taken place over the last couple of days in the NFL. And if you want me to touch on that, Yannick Ngakoue being traded to the Baltimore Ravens, I can do that as well. There was another move, Marcus Golden being traded to the Cardinals. So if you're intrigued in me talking about that, let me know in the chat and I can touch on that a little bit. But let's get to the comments. I want to hear your reaction to Antonio Brown to the Bucs. So let's get to the comments. Let me know what you thought of my thoughts and let me know what your thoughts are from this move. AB is back in the NFL. We have Tommy is the GOAT in the chat. Tampa would destroy Seattle from Isaac. Shelly says, I don't know what she's talking about. Stefan says, Mr. Big Chest is back. Business is booming. The king of wide receivers is back. That's that. I love that. Positivity, bro. Tyree says, if Tom Brady gets a ring, I wonder if people will still call him a system quarterback. The haters will always call him that. Get those comments in, guys. Kevin Durkant's loving this. I know Kevin Durkant's a big AB guy. Daniel says Antonio Brown or Tyreek Hill. Are you talking about like in terms of talent or in terms of fantasy? because those are two different questions. But I would still have to lean with Tyreek Hill in either situation, just because in terms of the fantasy impact, which I should touch on the fantasy impact, I actually picked up Antonio Brown in my biggest league like a day ago, 2 days ago. The first time I saw the report that he might sign with Seattle, which was the initial report. So I'm really happy, obviously. But I also traded for Chris Godwin. So it kind of sucks in that way. So I think so you could look at it two ways. And I think it's correct to look at it two ways. So Antonio Brown is going to be involved in this offense. He's going to have a role, and he's going to be effective. So that's rule number one. I think for fantasy, he'll probably be like a receiver 2, a number 2 receiver for your fantasy team, maybe a receiver 3 with high upside, because you have Mike Evans, you have Chris Godwin, both who are very good players and both are going to demand targets. I think this makes Gronk way less relevant as a receiver. I think this makes Gronk primarily a blocker in their offense. And this basically makes Scotty Miller you can drop him if you haven't already. For Ronald Jones, maybe he sees less touches, but I think he'll see more touchdowns. I think for this offense, it's going to make them just more productive. I think you can start in this offense for fantasy. You can start Tom Brady now every week as a quarterback 1. You can start AB as probably a receiver 2, receiver 3. You can start Mike Evans, and you could start Chris Godwin and Ronald Jones. Those are the guys that I would want, and those are the guys that are startable. I just think this is going to be an offense that it's spread the wealth, so maybe not one guy. I think each and every game there's going to be a different guy that has a lot, does really well. But I think in spreading the wealth and having AB on the offense is just going to make the offense better. So I think in this case, it's actually going to make everyone more valuable. So I think it's going to make Chris Godwin more valuable. I think it's going to make Mike Evans more valuable, Antonio Brown more valuable. Not especially if you're in like a standard league, because I think touchdowns are going to be there. I think points are going to rise, because early in this season, the Bucs offense actually has been kind of average. So by adding Antonio Brown and getting these other players healthier, it's going to make this offense top 5, top 3, top 2, top 1 in the league. So they're going to score 30 points a week, meaning that, okay, AB could score, Godwin could score, Evans could score. Brady might be tossing 2-3 touchdowns every week. He might be throwing 250 to 300 every week with these 3 receivers. And Ronald Jones might not have big rushing games, but I think what we'll see is he will score a lot of touchdowns. So I think all of them are going to be quite relevant. I would probably say that the biggest decline would be in Gronk's usage, and I think probably Godwin will see less receptions, but I think the value of the receptions will rise, because I think Godwin will become less of a short threat and more of a intermediate deep threat. So I think the AB will kind of become, I think the best way I could put this is I think you're going to see Evans become the downfield intermediate guy that catches 4 passes for 80, 90 yards and maybe a touchdown every game. You're going to see Godwin have 6 or 7 receptions every game with 80 to 100 yards. And you're going to see AB have 5 to 8 catches a game with 65, 70 yards. And then all of them have the potential to have a touchdown in the game, or maybe, multiple of them having a touchdown. So I think, last year, this offense was very pass happy. Some of that was because their defense wasn't as good. Some of that was because they were trailing a lot. But it was also because they wanted to pass a lot. And I think that's always been what they've wanted to do, is pass a lot. And I just think AB being that third receiver, they're going to have a lot of 3 receiver sets. There's no reason in signing AB and then not playing him. That's not going to be something that happens. Losing OJ Howard means that there's going to be less 2 tight end sets, more 3 receiver sets, and more 3 receiver sets with probably Antonio Brown in the slot or Godwin in the slot, and then either or of Godwin and AB on the outside with Evans on the outside, and then Gronk at tight end, occasionally with Cameron Braid at tight end. and then switching between Fournette and Ronald Jones. So I think all of them are going to be efficient. All of them are going to be effective for fantasy, but none of them are going to be like a for sure number one, but all of them are going to be like a number two, number three in your fantasy team with a lot of upside every week. So I would want to own all of them on my team because I just think this team is getting better every week. Brady's becoming more valuable and more, what's it called? More, not efficient. I can't seem to remember the word, but he's becoming more familiar, I think I want to go with the offense, the offensive line, the system, the receivers. The chemistry is getting better as well. So you add a guy that can just make the team better, but also you're already getting better as it is right now. Like, the Bucs are a team on the rise. Hot Take says, imagine 3 years ago being told that Antonio Brown and Leonard Fournette and Gronk would be on the same team. That's messed up. Durkant says, Fitz has more tackles than drops, so why didn't he get more receptions than AB? Damn, there's a Fitzgerald versus AB argument in the chat. I would say that AB was the better receiver all time. That's my opinion. You can disagree if you like. Obi-Wan Kenobi wants to know what happened. Antonio Brown signed with the Buccaneers. Kush is asking, should I start McKinnon or Giovanni Bernard? That's a good segue. I would probably say Bernard, but my segue would be tonight I'm going to be doing the start 'em and sit 'em, and I'm going to do it a little bit differently today. I'm actually going to be going live for it, so we'll focus on the start 'em, sit 'em fantasy conversation on that video. So tune in later to that video, and we'll go over that sort of stuff, those questions. But I want to make this more about the Antonio Brown signing that's been going on right now. So Russell says, F the Bucs haters. This is no different than the Chiefs getting Bell. This is better than the Chiefs getting Bell. Antonio Brown is still a really good player. I believe Le'Veon Bell is average at best. And he's a running back. Like, the difference between getting a receiver and a running back is a pretty big difference in my opinion. But, you know, that's me. You can disagree if you like. Jake says, AB need a game to adjust, or is he going to just tear it up? So I'm pretty sure he has some familiarity with Byron Leftwich because I think Leftwich was in Pittsburgh with him. And I also believe he has recognition of Bruce Arians' offense because Arians initially was in Pittsburgh. And I don't know if there was crossover there, but I do believe that the Steelers did run similar concepts to Arians when AB was there, and AB also played in New England last year for a week or so, or a week or two, and he seemed to pick up the offense quite quickly. But with a guy like that who's that talented, you just kind of need to tell him what route to run. And seeing as how he already has kind of timing down with Brady, I don't think it's going to take a lot. But he's not playing this week, so he's playing next week, week 9. So, or wait, 2 weeks from now, week 9. So he's going to have what? I don't know how the suspension works, if he's allowed to come back to practice, but he's working out on his own, and I'm sure they're able to send him a playbook to learn the plays and to learn the staples of the playbook. So I think it won't take him very long. I think it might be a progressive thing where he goes in for certain packages and certain plays early, and then he becomes more and more comfortable as they get towards the end of the season, and he becomes a staple of their offense. So I'd expect early on it to be kind of a rotation between AB and Scotty Miller, and then as AB becomes more comfortable, he's going to be pretty much on the field the whole time. That's the way I see it, but it does really help that him and the quarterback have already built some sort of rapport so that they kind of know on certain routes, you know, back shoulders, comebacks, slants, you know, things like that. that they kind of know deep out routes, like things that they're going to be able to work with. And they seem to have a connection right away. So I don't think it's really going to take that long, especially considering that a lot of people have said that Brown is quite a smart football player. I don't know about off the field, but a smart player. So I don't expect it to take that long. Shadow says, Bruce Arians said he didn't want AB. Interesting. And thank you for the super chat with the $5. Yeah, I kind of touched on that a little bit. That is interesting. I almost wonder if that was a ploy by Arians to kind of state that publicly and trick everybody into thinking that the Bucs weren't interested, because that could have been a way to create less interest. If a team with Tom Brady didn't want him, then like who would? So that could have been like sort of a way of getting less attention. But maybe he had a change of heart. Maybe he spoke to him. Like, that's why I was wondering, what are the details behind the scenes? Did they talk on the phone? Did they have FaceTime? Did Brady keep in contact with AB to the point where Brady was maybe poking at Arians like, this guy, he really wants to come back. He has a lot of motivation. So like maybe the OJ Howard injury also had an influence on him adding a weapon to this offense. So you have to wonder about those sort of things. Jake says he'll get a lot of practice in. I'd say tear it up. As you said, first game as a Patriot, he did good. Mr. Draco says, well, then every person that doesn't hate Larry Fitzgerald hates him. No, I'm not sure what you're saying. Raheem says, everybody is going to use the Bucs on Madden 22. Watch. I think a lot of people already were using them on Madden 21. Janet says Scotty Miller is still a great asset. I love Scotty Miller. I've loved Scotty Miller since probably last year. I think he'll still be out there. I think they're definitely going to utilize him, especially down the field, because he's still been effective in that role. But there's just so much talent. Like, and I think this, like I said, I brought it up. I believe that you're going to see Mike Evans like not play a couple games. Like, they're going to be like, Mike, just sit out for 2 weeks, come back 100%. And then that's where you're going to see Scotty Miller play more. Because if AB is 100%, you want to get chemistry with him. You want him to learn the plays. What better way to do that than play, right? Like, go out there and play, like snaps. And Chris Godwin seems to be 100%. So I expect Mike Evans to have a couple games here where maybe he could have played, but maybe they give him a seat. And they're like, just rest, because we're going to be in the playoffs. We want to win in the playoffs. We need you at 100% in the playoffs. So maybe versus some of these weaker opponents, they're going to be like, okay, Mike, you can take a seat this week. What do we got? I thought BA doesn't want AB. What do you think the effect that AB is going to have on the locker room? So I guess I didn't really address this, but this is what I think. So if AB becomes an issue, all right, let's say this goes wrong. This goes in the opposite direction I feel it will go. I think he'll just be cut. Like, if AB becomes some sort of distraction, if he is in a similar mindset, if he is not changed 1 centimeter, then I believe that he'll just be cut. Like, the position the Bucs are in a position where we have Mike Evans, we have Scotty Miller, we have Chris Godwin, we have Gronk. We have the best defense in football. We don't need you. So if you don't want to be here, if you don't want to basically fall within our guidelines, what we expect of you, to show up on time to meetings, to be a good character in the locker room, to be a good person on social media, which I think might be the biggest issue, to keep him off of Instagram, making stupid videos, yelling at cops and doing all that crap that he was doing. That is where he could become trouble. I don't think he's going to be trouble when he's at the stadium, when he's in the locker room, when he's at practices. I think teammates will like him. I think the locker room will love him. I think it's when he's not with Tom Brady, when he's not with Mike Evans, when he's not with Bruce Arians, when he's not with Levante David. That's where he's going to be a problem. That's where you got to keep an eye on him. That's why I'm wondering, does he join Brady and, live with him? Or I think he is from Florida. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he is from Florida. So I think, he could be like maybe surrounded by the guys that got him where he was. Like maybe he's a going back to the roots guy right now. Like maybe AB is training with his old trainer, or he's surrounded by his family or surrounded by his friends where he wasn't able to do that in Pittsburgh, or maybe he was surrounded by the wrong people in the past and maybe he's going back. I don't know. I'm just throwing out theories here. Like, I believe he is from Florida, but you could correct me if I'm wrong. So, and maybe even close to Tampa Bay. I believe he was from Miami, but I could be wrong. I don't know. So that's interesting as well to throw that in there. So he's playing for kind of not a hometown team, but I guess close. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be a problem in the locker room. I think he'll be a problem when he's not in the locker room. So you could say locker room issue, just like locker room problem as like the headline in quotes. But if he becomes that, he's just going to get cut because the Bucs don't need him to be a good team. I picked the Bucs to win the Super Bowl without Antonio Brown. So whether they have him or not, they're going to be competitive. So if he doesn't want to be there, bye. But if he wants to be here, business is booming. Randomness says, I'm shocked the Bucs want him. Why wouldn't he sign with Baltimore? Baltimore apparently didn't want him. So that's probably why. Who do you think would win in a Ravens-Bucs Super Bowl? I think the Bucs would win. I don't think the Ravens are going to make it there. Alicia says, who you trying to put $100 on the Chiefs-Bucs game? Alicia, I'll bet you $100. What's up, kill 'em boys? It's been a while. Nicholas says, if Antonio Brown got 20 more catches, then why didn't he have more yards? I don't know specifically what you're talking about, but I think Antonio Brown has always been more of a short intermediate threat than a deep threat. The guy just gets open like bananas. Like bananas. Like at his peak, he was double, triple teamed. Like you could not single him up. Yeah, Bruce Arians wants to win. It's the last 2 years of his career, just like Tom Brady. So they're all in. Matthew says AB is going to be bad. Damo says Brady just desperate right now. He's trying to get back at New England. All right. I guess that's a theory. Jake says, I say Gronk will be open more. Everyone focused on AB, Evans, and Godwin. Now, that could be true in a real life sense. He's definitely going to be one-on-one. There's no question about that. So he might have some good games, but I think in fantasy, it's hard to rely on a guy that I think is fourth in line for targets. So, he'll be good in real life. But in fantasy, when we were talking about fantasy, it's hard to rely on I think, Gronk moving forward with this signing. I liked him after last week, but after I heard this signing, it changed my mind. Mr. Smith says, let's go Bucks. Russell says, Evans and Godwin will eat. I think this is just opportunity for all of them to eat, man. You can't really double any of them. You got to pick your poison, and I think what we're going to see is teams initially, I think AB is gonna really thrive initially because I think teams are going to be like, okay, this guy hasn't played in a year. We're going to go one-on-one and double the other guys and see if he can still play. He's going to burn those teams a couple times, and then they're going to be like, oh, shit, this guy can still play. So we're going to have to like double according to formation or according to distance or according to certain tendencies that the Buccaneers have given throughout the season. So in a certain formation, a defense will scheme it in a way that they double Godwin or they double Evans, or maybe even double AB. But I think the one guy that is ever going to have to worry about that is Gronk, which I don't think he's ever had to ever had one-on-ones since like 2010. Zach says, did he actually sign or is it speculation? He actually did sign, yeah. He actually did. Tyler Johnson's been looking good too. So yeah, that's another guy for the future there. I think he probably is just going to get to learn from, one of the greatest receivers ever, Mike Evans, who's one of the best receivers in the league, and Chris Godwin, who's one of the best receivers in the league. So what a chance, what an opportunity for Tyler Johnson to learn from some players. Yo, I agree with Durkant's top 3 route runners: Jerry Rice, Chad Johnson, and AB. Damn right. Daryl says Brady and AB back together. Cover 6. Cover 6 is a concept. It means basically cover 4 and cover 2 in one play. So one side's cover 4, one side's cover 2. I don't know if you could say that's the best way to stop the Bucs, though. It's just a concept. You Wish says, love your content, go Bucs, and haters will hate. Hey, appreciate that, man. I don't think I've ever seen you in the chat, so I appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Jake says, Gronk, I think, will be more effective, taking the pressure off AB, Evans, and Godwin. Zach asked the same question. What else we got here? Official Johnny says the Buccaneers will lose more games now that Goodell doesn't like Brown or Brady, and will let the refs know to do them like the Saints. Well, the Bucs have already not been doing themselves favors with penalties. So, how much does AB cost? I'm guessing it's been $4 or less million, because that's how much money the Bucs had, and it's a 1-year contract. Angel says he's also a great punt returner. Yeah, he could be the punt returner. I wouldn't expect that to be the case right away, but he could. Maybe in the playoffs, we could see him be the punt returner. Ultra with the $4.99 super chat. Mitch, can you explain to Nicholas that Larry Fitzgerald isn't a top 3 receiver ever? I don't want to really talk about that right now, but personally, Larry Fitzgerald is not a top 3 receiver of all time. He was an all-pro once or twice, which means you've only been the best receiver or second best receiver in the league once. He really hasn't put up the numbers in terms of season to season, not in a career, because Fitzgerald has entered the conversation thanks to longevity, not thanks to prime. And when you look at receivers, you got to look at prime, and you got to look at season to season. What did you do? Did you set records? How many catches you have? How many yards did you have? How many touchdowns did you have? And to me, Larry Fitzgerald was probably the best receiver in one season. I watched his whole career pretty much. So I remember him being the best receiver in 2009 or 2008, I should say. And that was the only season. And you could argue at that point, Andre Johnson was the best receiver. So, he's a great receiver. He's a Hall of Famer. Everybody loves him. But I think a lot of people rate him higher than he should be because everybody loves him. There's a lot of receivers that a lot of people don't like. T.O., even Randy Moss, Antonio Brown. A lot of receivers that have been really, really awesome, a lot of people don't like. A lot of people don't even like Jerry Rice. I don't know why, but that's the thing. Fitzgerald, he has great hands, okay? Probably one of the best set of hands we've ever seen. He wasn't better than Moss. He wasn't better than Rice. He wasn't better than T.O. I don't think he's better than Julio. I don't think he's better than AB. And that's, I don't think he's better than Megatron. I think he's around 10 range. I don't think he's better than Marvin. So, yeah, that's just my opinion. Kevin says, just be humble, AB. Russell says, AB will act right because Brady is putting his name on it. He won't embarrass Brady. Fair point, I guess. AK Cash says, Mitch, great job, man. Bills fan. I got Allen Robinson, Godwin, Lamb, and AB. Sit Lamb. Oh, nice. You got AB. Sit Lamb or... Okay, so AB isn't playing this week, so sit AB. Once they become a thing, I think you kind of got to see and wait it out to see maybe reports of the usage for Antonio Brown and maybe that initial game versus the Saints. But I think Lamb is still relevant. I think even without Dak, he's still good. So you're fine with Robinson, Godwin, Lamb, and then once AB comes back, you can kind of go from there. And if you want to ask me again when that happens, then you can. But thanks for the super chat, $5. Courtney says, this shall be interesting. I know Brady likes Scotty Miller. He does. Evans and Godwin. He has a bunch of wide receiver talent. Only one ball, so it's interesting. Well, that's the thing with Brady. He's been probably one of the greatest quarterbacks, maybe the greatest quarterback ever at, and he's the GOAT, but at spreading the ball around. Like, there's been many situations where he's had plenty of targets to go to, and it's all about winning with Brady. And that's the greatness of Tom Brady. He's not only the greatest quarterback of all time, but he's the greatest leader of all time. So he's going to make everyone believe in the one goal, the one purpose, because that's all he believes in. All he believes in is winning. All he believes in is the ring at the end of the day. So everyone's going to follow his lead, and that's going to keep them in line. As long as they're winning, Mike Evans doesn't care how many touchdowns he has. Godwin doesn't care how many yards he has, and AB doesn't care how many targets he has. As long as they're winning, they're okay. And when they win, they'll all get theirs. So they're not going to be upset. I think, at least. There's a lot of targets, but sometimes, if you've ever played a sport yourself, you've ever been on a great team, there's inner competition. It makes you better. Being in practice for the Bucs defense. I'm sure a big reason they're one of the best, if not the best defense in the league, is because they've played Mike Evans and Chris Godwin every week, and they've played Bruce Arians' offense. And now they're playing Tom Brady. So that's a big reason they've grown as a defense and gotten better. And a big reason I think Scotty Miller could get better is because, now AB's going to teach them the option game, or you're going to see these 5 receivers, all trying to outdo each other in practice, in the games, and that's going to create a better team and a better product from the Bucs. So if you've ever been there, if you've ever been on a stacked team, you know how just having talent around you is going to motivate you. If you're the only guy in a receiving core, you can put some blame. You can say, I'm always getting doubled. I'm always seeing the best corner. I'm not the guy that's supposed to always be feasting. But with lots of guys around you, you want to be the guy that's open. You want to be the guy to get the ball. So there's a little inner competition there as well. Joshua says, do you think the Bears will go 6-1? And are they worthy of a Super Bowl this year? Because I feel they shouldn't be 5-1. Not worthy of a Super Bowl, but I do believe they'll make the playoffs. And I don't think they should be 5-1. I actually picked them to beat the Rams. So I do think they'll beat the Rams. I thought they should have probably lost to the Bucs and the Lions. And they've been a little fortunate, but that's not taking away from what they've done. They've played well. They've done better than I've expected. And I do expect them to make the playoffs. Top 5 tight ends in the game. Number 1, Kittle. Number 2, Kelsey. Number 3, Waller. Number 4, I'm probably forgetting somebody. I like Jonnu Smith a lot. Number 5. Let me just look at the team so I don't forget anybody. Hunter Henry is pretty good. Who else? There's not a lot of talent at tight end right now, to be honest. And I think a lot of them are being poorly utilized. Number 5, Hawkinson's been a lot better this year. I like Dallas Goedert a lot. I think he's really good. He's been hurt, though. But I think I would say Hunter Henry is number 5, to be honest. Maybe I'm forgetting somebody. Unless you're talking about all time, which, sorry if I didn't answer your question. Noah says, does Tom Brady get the most passing yards in the league now? Probably not, because I think their defense is still really good. So there's no reason that they really have to pass the ball all that, they don't have to throw for 400 yards a game. I think there's going to be quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, who his defense is absolute garbage. So I think Brady's going to be really good for the first 3 quarters in a lot of games. And then the game they're winning by 20. And then, you can put Blaine Gabbert in the game. Seahawks. Now, the Seahawks, they were the other team that was rumored to get AB. So it was brought up here in the chat that Josh Gordon could go to them. I think they will re-sign Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon's not nearly the same player that he was, but I do think he will provide at least some sort of depth to that position. Kevin has Chris Carter at number 3 all time. Bread says, I feel like it's a good signing considering the injuries Tampa has had, but I hope adding him doesn't rub Godwin or Evans the wrong way if they don't get their touches. Again, guys, I wouldn't be concerned about that. They don't care. All we've heard from them all season is Mike Evans. Mike Evans has missed the playoffs enough in his career. He doesn't care how many yards he's getting. Godwin doesn't care how many yards he's getting. They just want to win. At the end of the day, like Eric Bieniemy went on a rant this week, they just want to win the game. At the end, that's what you want to do if you're an athlete. I get it. You want to catch the ball. You want to score touchdowns. But if everyone's winning, as long as they're not losing and not getting their receptions, then they might start getting a little angry. But as long as they're winning, they should be fine. Especially those two guys. Those, Evans and Godwin are good dudes. So I don't expect that to be the case. They should have lost to the Lions. DeAndre Swift dropped the ball in the end zone. So, yes, they should have lost to the Lions. Mark Andrews, yeah, I did forget him. I guess you could put him at 5. I think Andrews has not been good this year, though. I think Henry has outperformed him. Gronk is top 10 for sure. Maybe even 6 or 7. All right. So I want to eat. It's 5:45 on the West Coast right now. I hope I answered most of your questions that you had. Let's get a couple more in here. I'm really enjoying it. Thanks for 350 people in here. I really appreciate it, guys. If you've enjoyed so far, Gronk, spike that like button. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm just going to take these last few questions, and then I'll be back tonight for my fantasy football stardom and situm as well. So, yeah. Little B Big says, what do you think about Tyler Johnson as Godwin 2.0? I like Tyler Johnson. I liked him coming out of the draft. I think he's a good, tough, middle-of-the-field player, good route runner, good slot receiver. Don't think he has the after-the-catch ability that Godwin has, but I do think he'll be a good receiver. Le'Veon versus AB in the Super Bowl. That would be awesome. ENN says, what about Ronald Jones? Do you think he'll get more touches, or do you think they'll still balance it out between rushes and passes? Their rushing game has been effective, but I expect the run game to take a little bit of a back seat on the early downs where they've been a little inefficient. And I think that's where AB comes into play to get some of those drive starting type of plays, those option routes. They're as good as Godwin is in the slot, and it's tough to say because Godwin really hasn't been there, but AB is special as a route runner, and his quickness is still incredible. So they're going to be able to, with Brady, some quick throws underneath to get drive started and to get those downs started, to just get it to a second and manageable. And then I think you're going to still see some good opportunities for Ronald Jones. I still think he'll be effective, maybe even more so now because the front is going to have to just completely play the pass. They're just going to have to, everybody is just going to have to play the pass. So Ronald Jones is going to have some easy runs. I think Rojo's carries and attempts go down, but I think his touchdowns and his efficiency goes up. My fave Bucs player is obviously Brady. Do I believe in the Titans yet? I think the Titans are good. I think the Titans are definitely a playoff team. I don't know if I'm believing in them as a Super Bowl contender yet, though. All right. Well, that is it. A couple plugs before I leave. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at TheBottomLineView. I am actually thinking about, and I think I'm going to, because I didn't on the channel, I'm going to record some videos for Instagram. I'm going to do my Yannick Ngakoue, Steve McClendon. Well, I guess I gave a McClendon breakdown already on The Bottom Line, so you can check it out there. The show I do every Tuesday night, The Bottom Line, reacting to each and every week. So I did that already. But I'm going to do a Yannick Ngakoue and Marcus Golden reaction, specifically only on Instagram. So if you want that exclusive content that you'll find on Instagram that you don't follow, that you don't find here on YouTube, and you want more Bottom Line View, you want more NFL coverage, then follow us on Instagram. Also, guys, we're trying to get that Discord community rocking. There's lots of NFL fans in there. If you want to join a chat, a community, talk football, I'm in there daily. Follow the Discord, join the Discord. The link's in the description. We have around 200 people in the chat right now. So if you want to join an awesome NFL community, then join the Discord. You can also, lastly, subscribe to my Patreon. My best bets are going up later tonight for week number 7. That is a Friday, Saturday thing where I give you my 5 best bets of the week. I also talk football exclusively on there, a place where you cannot find the stuff that I do on YouTube. It's not going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on Patreon. So, thanks guys for joining me. Just to answer this last super chat, because I don't want to miss out on the super chats. Where is it here? Is it Eli? Eli said, "This is my first time to the channel, and as a Bucs fan, I'm pissed." Wow, really interesting, Eli. I'd be happy, man. I'd be pumped because your team's going to be really good, bro. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoy the channel. Thank you for the super chat. Thanks, guys, for watching. It's Mitch. Peace.